It's a very peaceful feeling to be like, okay, there's others like me. It's not just me. I think that's the thing with like last minute planning is I'm like, oh, I do not know what to expect. I haven't had the moment to kind of process through, here's the possible situations, here's the risks, here's the things that I need to mitigate.
I get overwhelmed very easily. I need at least like 2 or 3 options. Otherwise, if it's just endless, I'm just overwhelmed. I shut down.
Even my disorganization is organized. It's like, I know that pile is these specific things, right? But I'm the same way. Like when I organize my things, like I've got such a weird system.
There is a right way to load the dishwasher. I know they mean well, but in my head, I'm always like, you should have just left these out because I'm just going to have to like redo everything.
If you really want to get to know someone, be like, hey, what are you passionate about? And they're like, the confusion on some people's brain. But I mean, really, if you want to like actually get to know somebody, it's like one of the best questions to ask.
Growing up, I always felt like I was an outcast or that no one understood me. And for the most part, I kind of felt alone. And a few years ago, I was diagnosed with ADHD and fairly recently also diagnosed autistic. Learning these things about myself made me learn more and understand myself. It removed shame, but it also made me realize that I'm not alone, that other people also experience life in a similar way and go through similar struggles and find creative ways to just get through life. And I stopped feeling alone. I stopped feeling like no one understood me because there were some people out there who do understand the things that I go through. And so a few months ago, I had the idea of starting a series on this channel where I sit down and have conversations with other neurodivergent folks. And I'm excited because this is my very first video in this series. In this video, I sit down and I talk with Everett Lamb. He is a psychologist and does magic on the side. He's a magician as well. That's actually how I met him. And I'm excited to share this conversation with y'all. If you're interested in being a part of this series, reach out to me. There will be information in the description below. But I just want to use this as a way to build community, not just with myself, but with our entire community, and allow us to no longer feel alone. There are other people out there that feel just like us, that experience life just like us. And so I just want to share other people's stories with you. Anyway, with all that said, let's dive into this conversation with Everett Lamb.
What's the name of your podcast?
We don't know. And
you don't know?
Yeah. I don't want this to be a podcast, but I realize that it's basically going to be one.
It's going to be a video cast.
Yeah,
it's
video
the same
cast.
thing. But I mean, it's fine. Like, again.
Well, thanks for doing this with me.
Oh, absolutely, man.
I guess to start off, mainly because I'm also curious too, but kind of tell us like a little bit about yourself. Like, what's the like, I don't know, too long didn't read version of you.
Yeah. So I'm Everett Lamb. I'm a psychologist and licensed clinical social worker. I've worked in behavioral and mental health since 2007. So 18 years this year. Doing it a long time, like went back to school, a non-traditional student, like started back for my bachelor's when I was 30, I think. So,
Dang, okay.
Yeah. Went through all that. I've worked in, again, mental health, behavioral health, substance abuse for a long time. And didn't know that I had autism until I was 42. So just about 5-6 years ago. Was working at a mental health hospital and had one of my other directors on the same level as me make a comment in a meeting like, oh, they're autistic like Dr. Lamb. And I was like, I'm not autistic? And she, after the meeting, was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to call you out. I didn't know." I was like, "No, like I haven't been diagnosed." So she set me up for an assessment with a mutual person that didn't work with us, went and got assessed and scored super high and was like, "Oh." And it was, for me, it was a super freeing moment because it made sense for a lot of the behaviors I had historically. At the same time, it was really weird because it's something I was like trained to diagnose. And I think it's like that whole, you're not able to see yourself as well as other people can see you, right?
Yeah.
Thing where I was like, oh crap. Or, after the fact, all the people really close to me, like family members, close friends for decades were like, yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Like, but, I also go back and I'm like, I grew up in a different time where, in the 80s, it was just like, you're eccentric, you're weird. Like, there wasn't like, oh, we need to make some like special accommodations so that this person can fit in better or socialize more or whatever. It was very much a kind of dog eat dog, like survival of the fittest type environment at that time where there wasn't a lot of like adaptation for anyone with disabilities, much less,
Yeah.
neurotypical disabilities. They're like, just concentrate harder, son.
Gotta have
like,
grit.
Pull yourself up by the bootstraps and just keep going. I was like, oh. And then I was diagnosed with ADHD this year. And that came from my partner who was like, yeah, I think maybe you got some ADHD stuff. And I was like, maybe, I don't know. Let's go see. So went and did the assessment. And they're like, oh yeah. And I mean, went on meds and it's literally changed my productivity like exponentially. Like stuff that used to take me weeks now takes me hours. Stuff that used to take me like, hours now takes me minutes because I'm not like trying to do 47 things at the same time and running with all those thoughts and stuff. So, I mean, it's interesting too, like being in the field and having done therapy and treatment plans and stuff with people with the same diagnoses as me, is I'm like, oh yeah. Now in retrospect, I'm like, oh, I can see that. And
Yeah.
I think some of that too goes back to like something that like I always think about, which is like masking, because there was like so much of that when I look back through like my history. Like it probably wasn't even until my late 30s that I was like really comfortable just being weird and awkward and all those things that I thought were what was wrong before my diagnosis, right? I was like, the word was always like eccentric, like he's just eccentric, it's fine. And so looking back now that I'm like, okay, like, yeah, it absolutely makes sense that those characteristics, and I know we were talking offline a little while ago about like it has made me much more forgiving towards myself for like stuff that I'm not okay with, right? Like noise thing's a big thing with me. Like I'm fine with it for about like an hour. Like we got 2 young girls between my partner and I who are 9 and 10, and it's like going to like arcade. Like I'm good for 45 minutes or so. And then it's like my brain has just had enough and just shuts off. And I'm like, no emotion, just like blotto, like mentally exhausted, like irritable. I'm like, for 45 minutes, I'm having like a good time. I'm like, oh, this is enjoyable. And then at some point, like all the differing sounds and visuals and all that. And I'm like, nope. Yep, we're done with this. So. And I have that experience a lot, like socially around like big environments. I made the mistake of going yesterday to IKEA and then Home Depot. Yesterday or Sunday? Sunday. So 2 days ago, I went to IKEA over a holiday weekend. To get like literally a list of like 5 things that we needed for the house for stuff. And I was like, And then from that to going to like a Home Depot, which was just packed full of people to get other house stuff. And by the time I was done, I was just like frazzled. Like, I was like one big nerve, just like going home, like a World War I shell shock, just like, oh, no loud noise. I mean, and we joke about it, but for real, it was like no loud noises. I'm really jumpy. I don't know why. Like, it's just that over stimulation stuff that happens. And so being okay with that now, like with the diagnosis, being like, oh, that's just a thing. Like I don't have to power through it and try to be like the strong one to be like, oh no, it's fine. I'm going to pretend like it doesn't bother me and just keep moving on. Like I can be like, okay, this is enough. Like I'm done.
That's the same for me. And it's now to where my wife understands now, like it's a thing, and I'm okay with like, because I'm a very much a people pleaser. So I will push through something even though deep down inside I absolutely just am not having a good time. So yeah.
Well, and I think it's that way a lot with kids too. Like having kids, it's like I push through so much stuff that's like uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be
I mean,
doing
there's times where you have to.
Well, and I mean, so
with kids, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just to backtrack, like I think that's another piece too. Is like when it was just me, I was like, oh, it's okay. Like I can just fade my way through. It's just me, not a big deal. This is just how I deal. This is a thing, right? And then once you have a partner and they start like pointing the stuff out to you that when you're by yourself, you don't even notice, and you're like, oh, that's weird. Okay, yeah, didn't even know I do that. Thanks for pointing that out. Spent years by myself, and now I'm like, oh, I do that? Oh, yeah. I've had so many things over the past like year that, my partner's pointed out to me and been like, did you know you do this? And like living together, especially where it's like 24 hours a day and they get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and be like, hey, let me help you out. And I'm very grateful because I have a partner who like knows my personality and knows that I'm not going to like shut it down and be like, nope, I'm done. And instead will just do it for me. We'll be like, hey, we're going to order out food tonight. You don't need to cook. Hey, let me go take the girls and go do something for a minute so you have some time to yourself. Hey, why don't you? And I'm like, because, I'm bad at, it feels selfish to kind of ask for that stuff for myself in some situations.
Yeah.
And so having a partner who like understands and sees it and is like, let me take care of this for you. I'm like, begrudgingly, I'm like, okay. So, I mean, I feel bad about it still, but at the same time, I'm very grateful that I have someone who has that like observational skill to see that stuff when sometimes even I don't.
Yeah. My wife's similar to you. We both know each other's strengths to know like, okay, we can hand this off, or, and this person can handle this person, I forgot where I was going with that, but
and those situations are cool because it's almost like when you watch like the chef cooking shows and there's like the sous chef and everybody's like doing their job and then it all comes together. Like,
that's basically
very similar. Same way where I'm just like, all right, I trust that they're taking care of this and taking care of this. Like, I don't have to be over there making sure things are going right. Like, and it does. It makes life so much simpler to be able to do that. And again, like spending so much time by myself, it definitely makes a difference. And I like see it all the time too, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't had to do this thing in forever because now they're doing that for me. I used to have to do that every day.
Yeah. Well, similarly, okay, so like there's certain things that if someone else does it, I'm just like, so like the dishwasher, for instance. Oh, there is a right way to load the dishwasher.
I'm with you 100%.
So when like, my wife or son does it one day, like maybe I don't come home until, the evening and it's already been done. Like there is like, I know that, or maybe they haven't started the dishwasher, but it's like loaded. Like I know they mean well, but in my head, I'm always like, you should have just left these out because I'm just going to have to like redo everything. And I know I could.
See, I don't even think that, but I do it. I go walk in and I immediately, as soon as I open the dishwasher, I'm just like, oh, no. All right. And
no,
I'm like, and then whatever leftover dishes that didn't fit that now magically fit, right? They're like, oh, it's full. I couldn't. I'm like, do. All right, here they are. And everyone's like, how, what? And I'm like, they might as well label it like these are for cups. The bowls go in the little thingies. Like the plates go in the sideways thing. Like it's, all right. No, I got you.
Yeah. But anyway, once again, I tend to forget where I'm going with things, but anyway, okay. So I wanted to, I guess, wanted to share how with everyone watching, like, how we met.
Yeah.
So me and my wife, we try to at least once a month plan a date night. And we probably need to plan our next one. And we try and do like, all right, this month you're planning it, this month, and alternate. I had probably about 2 months, I think, to plan our last date night. And about 2 or 3 days before I started planning it. and
I know that feeling too well.
I'm freaking out. Like, I get overwhelmed very easily. Like, any sort of like options, like I need at least like 2 or 3 options. Otherwise, if it's just endless, I'm just overwhelmed. I shut down, like, and all that. And so, yeah, like I had 2 months to plan, but I was like, all right, well, I definitely need to do it now. So I did the obvious thing and I posted on Instagram. It's like, hey, I need help planning a date night. Anyone have ideas? And I got, it was probably the most DMs I've gotten in a very long time. And about 1/3 of them was like, sir, you've had, because I did include like, I've had like a month or two.
Had so much time to do
this. And then I had some people being like, yeah, bro, it's called Google, and so I'm like,
why
that's not
would
helpful.
you even DM me that? Like, why tell me information I already know? Thanks.
Well, I mean, granted, they were right, for the most part. And I did get quite, like, there were mostly like good, like helpful things that people were. So I created an Apple Note and threw all those ideas in there. Some of them like we had already done. Some of them were like pretty good ideas. But even though like I could have stopped and solved that problem right then and there, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So I went back to square one and I was like, well, I guess I'll go on Facebook. And I hate going on Facebook, but I was like, all right, see what events are coming up. And so I came across 2. I think the other one was like something with kids entrepreneur like thing, where like kids were like set up and they're like, and you can go like buy things from them. And I thought it was like the cutest.
I was imagining
thing.
you got to go be like Shark Tank to a bunch of children and just like, I'm not in, and break some like 8-year-old's heart who
I can't do that. Unless the kid's a real jerk, but no. Anyway, I think that was the other one, but the other one was a local magic show. And I had this, so I really love magic. I love magic so much.
Me too, obviously.
Since I was a kid. And so I really wanted to go to the magic show, but I was like, okay, I gotta have a backup.
in case it got shot down by your wife.
Yeah, because she knows how much I love magic, and she could probably care less. And so I remember presenting her with 2 options because I didn't want to feel guilty for the one that I wanted to do.
Entrepreneur thing?
I think so. It had been.
You set that decision up then. I don't think anybody was like, yeah, let's go to this kid's entrepreneur.
No, I actually wanted to go because I thought it was really cute because my wife had presented it to me the previous month, and then we opted for going to a comedy show.
Oh, yeah.
We were just like, I don't know, it's outside, it's hot, and that was mainly the reason why we didn't go.
Tell me about it. That's so many of my decisions of things to do with like the family come down to like, it is 98 degrees outside. do I really want to do that?
Yeah. So if it comes up in the fall, I think I might go do it.
Exactly. That's every time. Like, once it's not 90, once it hits the 80s,
80s.
like 80, 82, like we'll go do
We're
that.
good, yeah.
We can go back to the zoo then, kids. Like, it's fine. The animals are hot. They're not even out right now.
Yeah. So anyway, whatever the other one was, I was like, okay, so I came across this. We could go do this. Or I don't know, there's a magic show, and the fact that it was like Secrets at the Speakeasy.
Secrets of the Speakeasy, yeah.
And like it was local. She was like, "Ooh, let's do that." And I was like, "Really? Are you sure you're not just saying that?" She's like, "No, I know you'd have fun." And so I was like, "Cool, I'm buying the tickets right now." Yeah, so anyway, that was how we met.
Yeah.
And then when I don't remember how you found out like I was going to be starting this, but I told my wife when you had messaged me, I was like, dude, guess what? I got my first guest, and it's the magician at the show we went to. He's AuDHD too. And she's like, ooh.
So surprising. So surprising a grown man who does magic is a hobby.
Yeah. And you love magic. So weird, you know? And so that's so anyway, I thought it was just a funny story.
No, and it's definitely so. That is definitely one of those like autistic, like obsessive behaviors, is I've had a lot of obsessive hobbies throughout the years, right? And reading's always been like the golden thread running through like everything. And I remember being probably 9 or 10 when I found a magic book in the library at my elementary school and read through the whole thing. And then I just kept checking it out and learned to do card tricks and learned to do a bunch of stuff, and was like obsessively into it at like 10, 11 years old. And then was kind of like, eh. Then in high school, my younger brother had a really good friend who is a good magician. And my brother got kind of into magic stuff, into a lot of other stuff, like really cool balloon animals and a bunch of stuff that he got into doing at the time. And then we went to school with another guy who ended up becoming a very big, to this day, like magic creator, and he's an amazing magician in his own right, but he creates a lot of stuff for other people and like people who are non-magicians and stuff that we went to high school with. And so there was definitely like this kind of renewed thing about doing some magic stuff, especially seeing my brother do it in high school. And then I continued kind of buying magic stuff and doing some stuff here and there for a lot of years, just kind of as a hobbyist, right? Mm-hmm. I had a lot of other friends who I started doing stand-up, I guess, when I was, 23 in Austin, and did that for a few years and got to be friends with a bunch of people who, you know, in the old Austin scene back in the day when it was still a much smaller place, who, you know, became like big comedy names in their own right, and did that. And then spent a lot of time going to school. And so while I was going to school and doing that stuff, I fell back into the hobbies of doing like some card stuff and writing some comedy stuff and trying to write for, do punch-ups for other friends that were doing like comedy skits and whatever else. And so I kind of had these two hobbies behind the scenes of like the comedy stuff, which I was always doing writing and stuff for, and then the magic stuff, which I was always like, you know, learning something new, doing something different. It was just, you know, constant back and forth. And so, yeah, I mean, they're the two that kind of stuck through everything, along with reading, that it was like, oh, even when I was, you know, learning woodworking or learning stained glass or the other million hobbies that I've had, right? And it's been really cool to see how like all those things have like really fed into like my ability doing magic stuff, because for a long while I wasn't performing. I was just like creating stuff for other people or friends would be like, hey, I want to be able to do this thing. And I love that process of like, just kind of how my brain always works, right? Is starting with an end result and then backtracking to how do we get there?
Yeah.
Like, this is what I want to make happen, right? I want this rabbit to pop out of a hat. And I'm like, oh, well, let me backtrack. Like, there's 6 or 7 different ways we could do this. What way's best? And kind of going through that reverse engineering process, which is how I am. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to do is there'll be like some really expensive thing that I want, or some, you know, even with magic, some expensive magic trick that I'm like, oh, I know what the end result is. Let me try to figure out how to do this on my own. Then I feel good because I'm like, I just saved a bunch of money figuring out how to do this on my own. Then it turns out, you know, I'll find out later how it was actually done. And then like, it's not done that way at all. And a lot of times my way's like easier or looks better or whatever. And then I'm like, yeah, I still got there in a completely different way. Because there's not that much new stuff. I mean, you know, it's also, you know, it's one of those weird things where, you know, everyone's always like, oh, do you know so-and-so and you know so-and-so. I'm like, dude, tell people it's like being almost 50 and you're a Pokemon card collector, right? Like, it's such a niche thing to be like older and into that. Like, yeah, it's a very small group of like, you know, these connected things where it's like, you know, oh, you collect taxidermied animals. I do too. And it's like that kind of a niche thing where it's nice because you have all this connection with people, and, you know, we're all such, everyone that I know who does magic stuff is such a nerd. But so I got to the point of like, you know, my partner, she'd been pushing me to like, hey, perform some more and let's do some stuff. And so I was kind of on the fence of doing the comedy stuff, still doing some stand-up stuff and doing magic stuff. And she was like, when you started doing stand-up, you were doing like comedy magic, and there's like a whole conflict there where people are like, oh, it's a comedy magician. They're not really funny. They're not what. And I was like, oh. And so I kind of got in my head about it and went to just doing stand-up. And she was like, do you love them both? Why don't you just do both? And she like literally sat me down and was like, what would be your dream? And I was like, oh, I'd want to do like a funny character that kind of like takes the wind out of like the like alternative spooky magicians who are always way too intense and way too serious and like, you know, ghost hunter style show stuff. I was like, and, you know, the same way, kind of like jab at like the people who are just comedians. And I saw so many like comedy magicians that like were either good magicians and not very funny, had like 3 jokes thrown in, or they were like neither, like not good and not funny, and we're just like, hey, and I'm like very like vaudevillian, and I was like, I'm not doing that. So I literally sat down and was like, all right, I'm gonna develop a character and do this thing that's, you know, kind of this silly alter ego of like what I would be if I just stuck with magic my entire life. And yeah, I do. I'm really into like spooky stuff, and we have like half our house is decorated like it's the Addams Family house, and
Nice.
anything like skull or weird hand or whatever, we've got it everywhere. And I'm very fortunate to have a partner who's like, yeah, that's awesome. Let's do that. Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. You have a nice balance of like nice decor. And then you look over there and it's like, why is there just a creepy doll over there for no reason? What's up
I was
with that
hoping you were
creepy
going to bring the
mask or
little
whatever?
doll.
Oh gosh, I got a bunch. That's the whole thing. That's the main one that I carry, that I do shows with. But I've got like 3 or 4 that I can do stuff with. I'm like, oh yeah, no. So no, I mean, it was just kind of like a mix of like all the stuff I love, like horror stuff, comedy, magic, and just kind of putting it all together into one big pot and being like, I was like, well, if no one else likes it, I like it. So no, I enjoy it. And I get to scare the hell out of you with the smashing the bags with the spike in it thing. Even. Anybody else feel like they're going to throw up a little bit in the mouth? Me too. I'm not going to cheat you guys this time. I'll do it with my right. I am right-handed. Sometimes I use my left and pretend it's someone else. There are way too many laughs out there. Everyone else has done it too. It's not just me. Hold on. Okay. 50-50 chance. We've got this. We do magic. It's fine. Ah, that's it.
Yeah!
The spike is inside of bag number 1.
Yeah, I just remember being like, so when we got there, the person who was hosting, he had answered the door, and I forgot what he was saying to us, but basically my wife was just like, he loves magic. And then I got called on the stage. And
well, you looked so excited. That's why I was like,
I was
you want to come help me? And you were
excited.
And then you were like, oh no, I was just here to watch, sir.
Yeah. Like that first trick, I just remember like, and you're probably not going to say anything. Like, obviously I don't want to know how it was happening. Like I want to keep a child in me.
Couldn't tell you if you
Yeah,
wanted.
I know exactly. So, but the first card trick with him, I just remember being like, the second round, there's more in here. Like, and I was just in the moment, I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. But yeah, with you, I was just like, he's gonna stab his hand.
I'm the same way. I have friends of mine who do tricks that I don't know how they're done. And they're like, let me show you. And I'm like, don't.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to know. Like, I want to enjoy that, which is like, for me, and I have this discussion a lot because, I think as over processors, we tend to like overthink things and like analyze the minutia of things, and to be a lot more introspective, which is a blessing and a curse, I think, than a lot of other people are with like our motives and why am I doing this and what's the cost benefit and like all these pieces constantly, right? Which doing artistic things makes it really hard because a lot of art is not a good cost benefit analysis, right? Where it's like, what am I really like for my energy and time that I'm putting into this? What am I really getting back? And so I have those moments, I wish I could say they're rare, but I have those moments like every couple of months where I'm like, okay, like I'm doing this. It takes time away from my family. It takes, a lot of energy. It takes a lot of like mental stuff to like come up with new things and create these new things. Like it's a lot of energy, right? And I'm like, is it really worth it? And then it's like, well, and I always go back to this, which is one of my things I always think about. I'm like, what's my motive? Like, what am I trying to get out of this, right? Because I know full well, right? I have friends who've been famous, kind of famous, whatever. Like, and I've had some friends who are like celebrities, and I see the way that their world is around them all the time, where any place they go, people are like, yeah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I do not want that ever. Like, I don't want to be like super famous. Like that to me just seems like the like last ring of hell. Like when I see that, I'm like, oh, because you never know like the reality of your interactions with people. And is this because like of celebrity stuff, or is this because of who I am as a person? And I struggle with that stuff already. So I'm like, I do not need that in my life. Like I can't imagine, and I've had it happen a few times, like being at a restaurant and having like a stranger come up and be like, you're so-and-so. I'm like, oh my God. Like every time it happens, I'm like, how do you deal with this all the time? Which is, part of it's like my magic character, Dr. Vincent Graves, is like, because part of it is, it looks very different from how I look in day-to-day life. So even if someone does, I don't have the big handlebar mustache on the daily and not the goth makeup, and I'm not wearing like dress clothes ever. Unless I had to go to a wedding or something else, it's just not my style. I'm like, oh no.
We were very impressed with how you maintained character.
Oh yeah.
Even after the show.
Fun.
We talked about that on the drive home.
It's fun. I've gotten quite a few compliments from like theater people. Like, you must do theater here. I was like, nah, man. It's just, I did in high school, but no, it's just this dumb character that I came up with that I have fun with. And it's almost like it is. I consider it like my alter ego. I'm like, oh, this is how it would be if I could just say the crap that happens in my head out loud to a group of people all the time. Like most of the bits and jokes and things that I say, like literally are not written out. It's just like off the cuff, off the top of my head. And everyone's like, how do you do that? I was like, I just say the stuff that happens in here out loud. Which is very different than my day-to-day life,
normally
right?
should.
I was like, when I shouldn't, but somehow when you're doing it on stage and you're like, oh, this is really funny. I'm like, oh, I think a lot of funny stuff. I just don't say it out loud to strangers. But no, I mean, it was part of the whole thing. Like looking at my motives was like, my thing is like just what you're talking about. Like I love the feeling of being entertained, and I absolutely love the feeling of wonder. And it's like one of the only things that ever makes me feel that way, right? Once in a blue moon, some new piece of technology will do that where I'm like, what the heck? And it just blows my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's so rare. And especially to like not know, right? Because technology, you can always look and be like, oh, here's the science behind it, right? I mean, you can do that with a lot of magic tricks and stuff too. But there's a lot of stuff that, yeah, that's part of mine is like you go Google most of the stuff that I do, and like Google's going to be wrong, very wrong for how it says it's done. ChatGPT does not know. Because I use very different stuff than like the usual for a lot of the stuff I do, which I mean, it's cool. But I mean, that's what I realized as I was like, my motive and what I really enjoy is taking people out of the day-to-day stressors and the day-to-day just blah of everything and having a period of time where they're not thinking about the worries of the world and just like enjoying themselves and having that kind of sacred space of just like being in the moment and being in a moment of like enjoyment and amazement. And that's what I love.
Mm-hmm.
That's the piece. And I was like, that's literally my motive. Like I make a good living. I'm not worried about getting rich. I don't want to be famous. I do not want to be like a working magician where I'm doing, you know, a show every weekend, every Friday and every Saturday, doing a show and making money and traveling all over and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm like, that sounds great with like my family for like, oh, let's go to Houston for a Saturday night. And then we get to go spend the day at the beach and then spend Sunday going to some museums and what, like that part sounds fine to me, but not every weekend either. Not all the time. And so I was like, which is like kind of the opposite of where most people who are trying to come up like music or whatever else are just like, man, I want to be out there. I want to be on the road. I want to be playing gigs nonstop. And I'm like, once a month, once every 6 weeks to do a show. Like, I'm great with that. Like, that's about where my energy level is. And then I want to be at home with my family, which is like it's my space, right? It's my like comfort. Like, but yet I still get this creative outlet to be like, okay, here's this thing that I do. Like, that's silly and fun for me. And I really enjoy. Yeah.
That's cool.
It is definitely very catered to the way my mind works with like the balance of like facts and like science and like here's the methodology, here's the science behind how this works and why it works, along with that like creative side of me, which is like, how do we take this up like 4 levels to be even more entertaining? Or funnier or sillier or whatever the heck it is, which is always my piece. And so, which one, like for you, right? I don't know if it's just me. For you, I'm very often thrown off by how non-neurodivergent people's brains work. And like, oh, this is going to sound bad. First thing that popped into my head, but how not self-aware they are, right? Like I feel like I'm much more self-conscious and self-aware of like how my behavior affects other people, right? Of how my decisions are like affecting other people around me, my words, like all those bits and pieces, which I mean, I think some comes from masking, but I'm like, I constantly find it frustrating that I'm like, that person doesn't even realize like that just hurt all these people's feelings. And they didn't even think about that because do you find yourself doing that too?
I mean, I've never thought of it as like, oh, they're not self-aware. I mean, there are people I've encountered where I'm like, they are not self-aware.
They're just oblivious.
All.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm like that, but yeah, like I've always said like my brain is just always just going. So like I mean, it depends on the situation. But I've always, even as a kid, I've always been told that I've been very self-aware, and I know I am too. And before I found out like anything about myself, like when I would have like arguments, like, you know, growing up with anyone, and they were saying something about like, basically I was always just like, no, like I do mean this, you know, or I am telling the truth, you know, or like by things that I've done. So I've always been very self-aware of that, but I'm also very, I'm always paying attention to surroundings, just like you were saying, of like, how did they not know? Like, or I also don't know if it's because I'm also a people pleaser, of like trying to pay attention to people.
See, and I was that way for a long time. And a lot of my first thing that I learned how to mask was just outright lying. Like I was extremely dishonest up until probably my mid-20s, just because I would literally tell people what I thought they wanted to hear.
Yeah.
In any given situation.
I'm still getting over that.
And I would just make stuff up in order to be like, oh, this is going to create a human connection with this other person. If I say this thing that even though it's untrue, and I know it's untrue, like the logic in my mind was, this is going to give me that connection that I see other people having, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't and don't for the most part. I mean, with my partner, it's different. With my kiddo, it's different. The kiddos, it's different. But like with even like family, like I see like the emotional connection that some people have with their family members. And I have some of that, but it's like toned down to a different level than I see in other people, that I'm just like, you know, almost jealous of like the depth of connection that other people get to have with each other. That it's like my brain just doesn't do it. Like I'm like, yeah, I love you. Like I'm crazy about you. Like, you know, I love my family. I'm crazy about them. My parents are fantastic human beings and very loving and everything else. But then I hear other people describe like their internal connection with other people, and I'm like, oh, that's not the way I feel, you know? And again, like some of that, like that masking of like lying to tell people what I thought they like, definitely created, you know, friction within like my family unit and other things, where it's like, why are you making up this crazy? The school's calling us, telling us in like third grade, telling us that you said you flew to Paris yesterday and it's a Tuesday night. Like that's physically impossible, right? Why would you say that? I'm like, well, I don't know. And like for real, it's some girl in my class went to Paris and got attention and people connected with her. And I was like, oh, if I say I went to Paris, I can have the same connection. The school's like calling my parents like, I don't know what's going on with it. And like now it makes sense, right? Now that I can analyze it from like a different mindset and a different perspective. But to everyone else, it just seems like this person's just full of it and can't be trusted, right? And in my brain, I'm like, what do you mean you don't trust me? I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this to try to connect with you. Right? So now in retrospect, I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Like it makes sense to me now. But I mean, it makes sense why other people are like, that guy's just full of it. And I was like, I'm trying to connect. Like, you know, like it's a very different thing. And I think the hyper awareness of other people's reactions, like that's the other thing that I got when you were talking about being like hyper observant. Like
my problem is I'm unable to really understand.
See,
I pay attention. Like I do it to my wife all the time. Like, why did you make that face at me? She's like, what are you talking about? Ooh, but in my head, I'm like,
had that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, why do you look like, what's your problem? And it's nothing.
Like, I was like, we just had this discussion like last year. I was like, I was like, don't roll your eyes. When I was like, I did not roll my eyes. I turned my head in the opposite direction because I was looking over there at what our cats are doing. And I'm like, sorry. Like, and it's like, that hypersensitivity of like trying to, and I hate it, but trying to fake normal. And that was the thing for me that I got out of the people pleasing, was when I was like, you know what? Like, literally, I was like, I'm tired. Like, I'm exhausted from like constantly being like you said, head never stopping, trying to process what everybody else around me is doing and thinking and whatever else. And I was like, you know what? There's this close-knit group of people that I care about. I'm going to focus on like my relationships with them and stop caring what any residual associate, like person of, acquaintance that I have, right? To what their opinion of me is, because I don't care anyway. Like, I'm going to focus instead on these relationships. And it gave me a lot more headspace, because I stopped walking down the street being like, oh, am I being weird? Am I being awkward? I stopped going to, work events and being like, oh, am I uncomfortable? Am I awkward? And started just being like, I don't care. What are they going to do? Fire me for being weird? No. Okay. We're just going to do what we do. But
I strive to get to that one day.
Some of it too is like having people around me who are, neurotypical, who will like give me some cues. Like, I've got like, there's some knee taps. When I get nervous, I very much overshare and like talk too much. And like, I'm like, oh, look. And again, and I know it's an attempt to connect and be like, let me find some common ground for where we are so I can meet this socialization level that I see that I'm supposed to be at and I'm not at. And so let me just shotgun a million things at the wall and see what sticks, right? Mm-hmm. And so, a few nonverbals where it's like, a few taps on the knee or whatever. It's like, okay, that's enough. And I'm like, okay, thanks. Like, that happens. And I'm immediately like, I don't know how to end this conversation that I started for no good reason. So, all right, thanks. Ta-da. Like, So that was this part that got me to where like my headspace is a lot calmer now, was getting out of, because I was worried about the entire world. Like, oh, am I being weird? Am I blah, blah, blah? Like, I would be alone somewhere, at a coffee shop or whatever, and be like, am I being weird? Am I blah, blah, blah? I'm like, I don't know these people. They don't matter. It's not important. And just that kind of like mantra of that in my head of like, these people don't matter. I'm probably never going to see them again. Like, I literally could, put a cookie on my head and dance a jig right here, and they'll remember that, but they won't remember it was me. Like, I'm never going to see these people again. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They like allowed me the freedom to just really not be in my head consistently of like, because man, it was so tiring. And again, like in my late 40s, like it took me till my early 40s to even get to that point of being like, I don't care anymore. Like, I'm fine. Like, doesn't matter. So, but yeah, no, I mean, not to get all psychologists on it, but for real, like socialization is one of the like 3 needs that is like we're born with, right? Like, safety, one of those needs that like we need to feel safe, we need to feel okay, like, but socialization is the one that like most of us don't think about, right? Where it's like we have this innate need that has come from like evolutionary stuff of like, I mean, 250 years ago, you couldn't live alone without interacting with other people. Like, you just couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, you better really like corn if that's what you're growing, because you're not going to have anything else besides that because you're not interacting with anyone. Hope you don't need a barn raised, right? Like, all these things that when you look at like literally like 200 years ago, when most of our society was like agrarian and growing stuff and almost everybody was farmers, like from there all the way back through human history, like you had to have tribe and you had to have that like socialization group. And now that there are so many of us, and there's a whole school of thought that thinks that autism is just the next evolutionary step of not needing as much socialization, because now we're not as dependent on that for our survival. So our brain's moving away from that. There's a whole school of thought that says like, oh, now I can go to the grocery store and buy stuff. I don't have to make nice with all my neighbors and everybody else. And, we're not being attacked by saber-toothed tigers. So I don't need this group of people around me with spears to help me defeat the monsters, right? Like now it's like, I can't, like, you can literally live most of your life with very minimal human interaction now when it comes to survival, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a whole school that thinks that, which is one of the reasons they think, besides just the diagnosis gotten better, but like so many more people are being diagnosed. And I mean, yes, I think that there's, a few of us throughout history or whatever, but it doesn't make sense that there's this huge explosion of so many people with the characteristics and behaviors that we haven't seen before. So I always find that like really interesting to look at too. Is like, oh, maybe I'm just like tiny bit more evolved, and that's the piece.
Evolved.
Maybe that's maybe that's the next adaptation, is to not need that piece, because I mean it is like I am very aware that it is unusual to not need that consistent human interaction. People are like, let's go to this party. I'm like, I would rather pull out one of my teeth with a pair of pliers right now. I mean, I'll go, but literally I'm like, anything else. Like,
yeah,
let's set fire to my leg here. Let's do that. That sounds like fun. Whatever. Better. I'm like, it sounds like a better time to me than sitting with a bunch of strangers listening to, stuff that isn't important to who I am as a person. I'm like, oh, It's like question. Everybody's like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, and I always answer, I'm like, oh, I do magic and comedy stuff. And they're like, no, for like a job, for money. And I'm like, why does that matter?
Oh, yeah.
Like, tell me something interesting about yourself, right? I'm like, oh, like that's your first question? Like, oh. I remember.
Small talk is just so painful.
I was at a conference and I was sharing on some of this same kind of stuff that we're talking about. And I had a lady come up to me who is autistic as well and said, I don't ask that anymore. I ask someone, what are you passionate about? And you just watch their eyes light up. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, it's such a good question.
Yeah.
To just, if you really want to get to know someone, be like, hey, what are you passionate about? And they're like, and the confusion on some people's brain, like they're like, I'm like, but I mean, really, if you want to like actually get to know somebody, it's like one of the best questions to ask. Like, what are you passionate about? Yeah,
I remember that. I like that.
I loved it. I was like, oh, like that really is like get to the core of, my day-to-day life. I'm a pretty quiet person, but you get me nerding out on like magic or like science and neuroscience and psychology stuff. I can talk all day, but then rest of the time, anything else, I'm like, how do you feel about blah, blah, blah? I'm like, oh. You think about politics? I'm like, ugh, no, none, zero, none of the above.
Okay, so going back to how you were saying, like, you do magic, like with, like there's the way, but you found like the different way. What are like not non-magic related? What are like things in just like everyday life that like normal, quote unquote, normal people would like don't do things? So like, for instance, I'm trying to think of something. Maybe I was phrasing that wrong, but like things that in your life work for you. Okay, like before we recorded, you were talking about how you like paper, and I'm a digital person.
Yeah, so like organizing, right? Which is one of the important things. Yeah, like organizing thoughts and trying to figure out, because again, I mean, that's AuDHD, man. Like the forgetfulness is a strong thing. Like I need so many reminders for stuff. Like I would never buy groceries if I didn't have like the Alexa at my house to be like, anytime I'm out of something, I'm just like, Alexa, add blah, blah, blah to the shopping list, like over and over again. And then I'm literally walking around the grocery store with the app open and the shopping list, checking off stuff as I put it in the cart. Like I would starve to death if I hadn't figured that out. Like, years ago before that was a thing, I just had like a written, grocery list on the fridge that I just add stuff to, and I'd forget. I'd be like, oh, I need blah, blah, blah. And then I'd go about doing something else. And next thing you know, like go to the grocery store, come back, and I'm out of like toilet paper. And I'm like, oh, now I have to go back to the store. Like, great, right? So, but no, so a handful of things, right, that I found work for me, like especially with like work stuff, because all my work stuff's digital. Like therapist stuff, meeting stuff, assessments, all that stuff. So I have to set, and I work from home. So that makes it difficult too for me. When I'm in an office, it tended to be a little bit easier. Don't get me wrong, I love working from home now that I've figured out kind of a system. But I have to have like multiple reminders leading up to something, right?
Okay.
Especially if it's something that requires socialization. So if I've got like a training or a meeting that I can't just sit on mute with no camera on for, right? And be like, oh, I'm paying attention and doing my thing. If I have to actually interact, because I've got to mentally prep myself for hours before any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not the person who's just randomly like, hey, let's go out and like hang out and do like, I can't do it. Again, if someone's like, oh, well, let's hop in the car. Let's go do this thing. I'm like, if it involves like socialization with other people, like I need a mental build up to do that.
There's so many things involved, like similar, like on a similar thing, but like, I hate traveling. And so, my wife has a friend's wedding. It's coming up next year and we have to travel to it. And I'm already like, well, I don't want to, we got to wake up at this time. I don't know what to wear. Like, it's just like so many, multiple things. And that's like far in advance. But even if someone were to bring up something, it's like, well, I got to get my shoes on. Like, what's the parking situation? Like
my parents want to take us to Disney World next year. And I'm already like, all right, I got to buy a Disney manual because I'm that planner person where if I plan,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, we're going to do this and this and this. And now I know this and now I know this. Like, I'll still buy like the, unofficial guide to Disney World or whatever to read through and be like, okay, now I know what to expect. Right. I think that's the thing with like last minute planning is I'm like, oh, I do not know what to expect. I haven't had the moment to kind of process through. Here's the possible situations. Here's the risks. Here's the things that I need to mitigate in myself and that environment because so-and-so is going to be there and you don't like them and you're not good at hiding the fact that you don't like people. And so you don't want to give them the cold shoulder. So be aware of that and like process through all those pieces.
Yeah.
So I'm that way with like planning out lots of stuff. So for those meetings, I have like a reminder at like 2 hours before the meeting. That's kind of like, that's only a reminder, not because I'm going to forget about the meeting because I look at my calendar multiple times a day. It's the reminder of, hey man, you got 2 hours till this. What do you need to do to be okay to do this? Like, all right, let me go get some more coffee. All right, let me run to the restroom. Let me go get something to eat so I'm not hangry for this, like whatever it is that gives me time to play. And then same way, like an hour till, same way with like the magic shows. I'm like, you got an hour till. Get your stuff together. Like you got to leave in an hour, like get your brain together, get your stuff together, blah, blah, blah. Like get mentally prepared for this. And it's like, okay, all right. And then it's like, 15 minutes before is the real one where it's like, oh, I got to wrap up whatever I'm doing for work to get there. But I need like those reminders before that to like, get in the headspace to do this stuff. And then, man, a lot of times if it's like whether it's in person or virtual, like when I get done with those things and have to work, like I just know I'm screwed the rest of the day because I'm drained, like mentally, sometimes emotionally, depending on like, I've had a few trainings that, for mental health stuff that I went to that I was like, oh, just thinking about this stuff in my head is like emotionally draining. I just know I'm like, man, the rest of the day is shot.
Yeah.
Like we're done. Like if that training ends at 2, like
that's it.
Let's put some stuff on our list that's real easy to do for the end of the day because we're not going to be able to. And so a lot of it is like the self-awareness stuff for me. But most of the time I don't like the digital checklist, like several reasons, right? So one of my like big driving factors I've never been able to get over is like fear of laziness. Like I don't want to feel like I'm being lazy. And I think it's like partially like the way I was raised, like environment, like everyone's really hardworking. Like it is just part of the deal, right? Like you work hard, whatever. So I watched those behaviors modeled. And so now I think that that's like the fearfulness is like, oh, I don't want to be like not pulling my own weight. I think some of it too is like hearing stories in like relationships and, you know, people that I've seen in their families where it's like one person doing everything and taking care and the other person just kind of
sitting there.
Yeah. Like feeling like, oh, they're not pulling their own weight. And I have such a fear of like not being aware of that I tend to overdo it. I got really sick and had like the flu for a day. Slept all day, and then I got up and I was like, oh crap, I gotta get, and literally went outside with like a fever and was like working in the yard, getting stuff done because I was like, God forbid that my partner finds that I'm lazy and she sees me like doing nothing. And she walked out, was like, what are you doing? I'm like, you've been taking care of, I slept all day and you've been taking care of the kids and doing all this. Like, I need to do something. She was like, you should know. Go sit down and watch TV. So I'm like, no, gotta pull my weight. Like, and so that feeling is always like a big driving factor. So it's one of those things that I try really hard to mitigate at times, but it's just so driven into my core that I'm like, you know, my partner gets up and starts vacuuming and I'm like, well, up and doing the dishes now. Like, I'm like, she's like, sit down and relax. What are you doing? I'm like, nope. Yeah. Somebody's working, we're all working. Like I want to be that like balance and like that, you know, meet in the middle partnership. And I'm so like self-conscious about that aspect because I'm like, I don't see a lot of signs and clues, like you said, like, or misread lots of signs and clues. I'm like, it's the one thing I know that I'm good. Like, okay, there's a checklist of things that needs done all the time. Laundry, dishes, cleaning the counters, vacuuming, feeding the children, you know, these things. And if I'm pulling my weight in these areas, at least I'm
good.
At least I'm okay there. But no, for me, I use a lot of written checklists and like written stuff because having that feeling of like that fear of being lazy or that fear of like not keeping up, really, it makes me feel better and allows me the space, like the mental headspace to be able to relax, being like, oh, I got all this stuff done. Now I can sit and relax. Because if I just have like a checklist, which I used to use like all sorts of apps for that stuff and really complex like project management apps for like my life. And then I'd check it off and then it was just gone, right?
Yeah.
Me in a sauna, I'm like, gonna check this thing off and it's gone. Like, oh, I didn't have that experience of ever being able to make that space for like rest.
Yeah.
Which I have a hard time calling it that, but that's what it is. Like, I'm worn out. I need rest.
I'm only just now getting better at trying to be like, you know, it's okay. You can do absolutely nothing, or you can start your day slow, or I've actually been pretty proud of myself for like not going hard, but I don't have the problem of like the fear of not like
doing enough. Yeah.
Doing enough. I don't have that fear. It's more so the like, I just always have to be doing something. I don't know how to relax. I don't like going on vacation sounds like a chore.
Is it a productivity thing?
No, like
it doesn't even have to be productive. It's just doing something.
Doing something. Yeah, it's not about like, oh, I need to be the most productive person all the time.
See, and for me, it's not even about like necessarily like productive. It just has to be like me moving forward in some area, even if it's like a hobby or whatever. Like I could sit and do like paint by numbers and feel like I'm being productive, but I have to be like moving from point A to point B for some reason. So even the stuff that I find like as hobbies always seems to have that like aspect to it too, which is weird where I'm like, oh, like, well, this is adding to my ability to do magic. This is adding to my ability to do this. This is adding to my skill set for this thing. So therefore it is a worthwhile endeavor.
Okay.
It's the stuff that isn't worthwhile. Like I've just recently started getting back into like playing video games for mindlessness, right? Like I'm playing the We Love Katamari Damacy. I don't know if you played it.
I don't know.
You just roll around this thing and stick stuff to it. It's like Japanese, very unusual, but it's very soothing and the music's very calming and you're literally just rolling around, sticking stuff onto this like Katamari, like, okay. And it's mindless and it's like, it's short. Like, each one is, each little mission is like 5 minutes. Like, oh, you have 5 minutes to make your Katamari, like, 3 meters big or whatever. And you're like, oh, so it's like 5 minutes. It's not sitting down and playing like, 5 rounds of Call of Duty or something. I don't even know how long that takes. It's not my forte. But yeah, it's like, all right, it's 5 minutes of like relaxation downtime that makes me like, it does. It makes me happy and feel like, oh, look, I'm doing something mindless that isn't important. Like, look at me taking care of myself.
Oh my gosh. You'd also mention share the book thing. I only found like I don't read. I do audiobooks, but I can read. But it'll take forever.
I have the ability.
Yes.
I just don't do it.
I just don't do it. But how?
I'm a literate human being.
I promise.
But it's not really in my wheelhouse to do that all the time.
But for those that do, like, you said you had like a little process for when you like in some of your books, like you'll use like colored tabs or something.
So I will. Like if I'm reading something just for fun, no. Like if I'm reading something for fun, I'm like, this is for fun. And I have to remind myself. And man, let me tell you, there is nothing somehow for my brain that is more upsetting than getting to the end of a book and being disappointed. And like, I just invested hours of my time. There's been a couple of books that I was like super excited about in the past, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months that I read and then got to the end and was like, I invested all this time into this for that.
Yeah.
And was just not happy at all with. But again, I think it's like anything else. Like I go back to like my comfort authors, like the same people that I know, like, oh, I like this. And even books that I've read multiple times, like I have a whole collection of a couple of authors that like, everything that they put out, I was like, okay, I'm going to buy every one of their books and read them. That are probably a little more, I don't know, underground than like regular authors or whatever. But yeah, there's nothing more upsetting. But for regular reading, that's one thing. I'm like,
okay.
Regular reading is the one thing that has always in my mind felt additional and productive, even if it's just reading like fiction, right? Like I am accomplishing something. I'm sitting here and reading. I can see how many pages I'm through. If I'm on my phone or Kindle or whatever, I'm like, I can see what percentage of the book I'm through. Like I am accomplishing something and moving towards an end. With other stuff like magic books, because I mean, that's my other one is I have a stack of magic books I haven't read. I think it's like normal people who are readers with like paperbacks. They're like, oh, I heard this book was good, and then buy it and just it goes on the bookshelf. And you're like, I've never read it. That is the only books in my house that really are that way, are like the magic books where I'll find some half price books. I'll go and look in the section. I'm like, oh, I don't have this one. Like maybe there's something interesting in this. So I'll go through a lot of these that really, I mean, some will put effort into writing them, but some of them are just not good. Some of them, it's like, this doesn't make sense. This wouldn't really work. Like I get that you had an idea and wrote it down, but it wouldn't work in like the real world. Like it's very hypothetical stuff. So I'll go through it and I have like I love like the Post-it tape things, the colored ones. So I'm going through doing that, or even with like, work stuff. Like I don't read a lot of stuff for work anymore, but when I did early on as a psychologist, I'd do the same thing where I'd be like, oh, this is something that I want to use, right? So I'd kind of color code like, oh, this is something that's really useful for me. This is something that's really useful for my patients, right? So I'd add 2 different color codes for that. Mental, never written down. So if, anything ever happened, it was like, what the heck are they? All right. I do the same thing with like the magic books where I'm like, okay, this is something that has like some aspect of it that I like, that I might be able to use in something else that I'm going to create later or develop, or like, I like this piece, right? This piece of the action or whatever the thing is. Like, I don't like that, this is turning a woman into a tiger, but I really like this middle part where like, You show the, cage from 360 degrees. Like you put it on a thing and it like twists around so you can see the whole thing. I'm like, ooh, that's cool. So I'll like mark that and be like, oh, so if I'm going to, do an illusion thing, I want to like show it from multiple angles. And so that becomes something that I can use to create something else later. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I'll have another one for stuff. I'm like, this is just good. Like the whole trick, the whole thing is good. I just got to figure out how to like adapt it for my stuff or like change some things in it so I'm not stealing. I mean, I say this all the time, like 90% of magic is stealing.
Yeah, it's all the same stuff,
like,
I guess.
Yeah, there's only really, 4 or 5 magic tricks and that's it. It's like you make something appear, disappear. You make something move from one place to another. You make something that's expected to happen, not happen, or the other way around. Something that's not expected to happen, right? You change something changes into something else, Then you have like, you read minds or create something where, something that you shouldn't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it. There's not a lot of stuff that goes outside of that. Like, it's like, oh, look, oh my gosh, they appeared on I always go back to this silly thing. It's like they appeared on a jet ski because it's like the most, it's the most like Vegas cheesy thing that I can think of is someone's like, oh, and then they appeared on a jet ski. Like, it's a very specific kind of magic when you think of the person. You're like, oh yeah, no, they have a mullet. Yeah, they probably had a mullet, huh? And not like the cool new mullets, like the old 80s bleach, the old 80s bleach style where you're like, that was a choice. All right. Not the new ones where people are just like, hey, no, it's just growing it out and it's cool and making a statement. Like now a lot of it's ironic. Those are not ironic at all. They're just like, this is what I've had since 84, bro. So like I always think of like that. I'm like, oh, it's like a jet ski for like move or something. Or I'm like, oh, it's just too cheesy. Like it's too much.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a thing. Like, that's like making something. There's 100 different ways people do that. Oh, he appeared on top of an elephant. Like it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
So looking at like, I always think of it as like Lego pieces, right? You've literally only got a handful of Lego pieces to work with. So it's like, okay, how do I layer these? How do I turn this into something with these Lego pieces that's like new and inventive that hasn't really been done before?
Okay.
Very similar to music, right? There is a set number of notes and chords. That is it. Yep. And I think of that all the time. Very similar to music. This is the set of notes, set of chords. Yes, there's other aspects. There's hundreds of pedals you can use to distort, change, whatever, but it's still the same notes and the same chords. So it's how do I put this into a progression, make this into something that's new and original and not like everything else.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, it gets harder and harder, right?
Uh-huh.
Because, somebody's already written that chord progression. They did it in 1945 and again in 1975 and then 1995. And here we are now. And it's like, this song sounds just like that song. And you see it happen more and more, and people are like, oh, that's a ripoff. And you're like, because we're out of stuff. Because we're out of stuff. So that's literally what it is. It's like, just like a musician will be like, oh, I love this from like Skynyrd. And I really love how this sounds from the Beatles. And I really love this piece from this thing. And like, let me change the key. Let me move some notes around. Let me do this other stuff. And like, oh, now we've got something original. But really it came from all these other pieces. Mm-hmm. And like, that's the way magic is like, no matter, man, I've had so much stuff that I'm like, I just invented this. I just created it, blah, blah, blah. And then I go do it. And people are like, oh, that's just like this thing this guy did. And I'm like, next thing you know, I'm watching like YouTube videos from like 1975. And this dude's doing the exact same thing I've never seen before. But because limited number of pieces to work with, it's like, oh, okay. No, I thought I did something really cool there. It's like being a musician. You write a song and they're like, no. And then you play it for your friend and they're like, hey, man.
That's exactly like
that's a Tom Petty song. And you're like, what? No one's in there like, oh, my God, it is. It is a Tom Petty. I just wrote Free Falling for the second time.
Growing up, I was in a band and there were so many times where I would go into practice and be like, check this out. I got this idea, and I'd play it for everybody. And they were like, no, that's exactly the same chord progression as blah, and it's like, oh my.
But again, so it's figuring out like, how do I strum different? How do I solo different? How do I do all this? Like, and that's the piece, right? Is like, how do I take these pieces, one, make it into something new, and two, make it into something that's entertaining for the regular person, which is, not to get off top, which is my problem with magic, right? Is probably 75 to 90% of the magic coming out right now isn't for people. It's for magicians to impress other magicians, like whether it's by like the method they're doing or whatever. It's like, look at this thing I can do. And I'm like, I don't care.
It's kind of like the shred guitar players. Like,
No, it's like, yeah.
where it's like, no real person is going to listen to this music, but it's just all the guitar players that are just like, oh my God.
And it is. That's like musical masturbation. It's like magical masturbation. It's like, look how good and it's like, okay. And again, going back to like my motive is to like entertain and make people have a good time. Like I could care less about the method of like, oh, is this ingenious? Is it really difficult to do? Is it really hard? Than I do like the piece I understand about humans, which is like the memories that they leave with, right? Like the kind of picture in their mind when they think about what happened, and like that's the stuff I leave with, right? I go to concerts, I go to see other magicians, I go to see whatever. Like I'm not leaving with, ooh, that was really smart the way they did that. And that was so complicated and so difficult of a thing that they did. I'm like, I mean, there's lots of bands that I love who are not complicated that I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's pretty easy 3-chord progression. Like, yeah. Love the Ramones, man. I'm like, that's it. Like, it does not have to be, Steve Vai and Yngwie Malmsteen, like, for me to enjoy it. Like, I'm like, and I think about the same way in magic, where I'm like, oh, that's just entertaining. Like, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
It should be just entertaining. It shouldn't have to be like so complicated. I talk about it all the time in like real life. I used to talk about it with patients in private practice. It's like, tell other magicians this all the time. Like you're running when you're not being chased. Like you're trying to create too much and do all these things when no one's sitting there like, oh, I'm figuring that's how he did it. Like, I was like, because if you're entertaining, no one's paying attention to like what the method or the piece is. They're paying attention to like the outcome or like the fun thing that happens as a result of it. Right. Or the other little bits and pieces that you spend forever working on to just throw in there for like those mental pictures, like the knife through arm with all the blood thing that I do and all this, where everyone's like, oh my God, I was like, expensive and time consuming thing to like figure out, but it creates a moment that people do not forget. Right. Like, so it's the same kind of thing, like figuring out those little pieces I can borrow from and adjust and like, change the key of, right? In order to make it something that fits better with like my stuff and what I do and the kind of like cheesy, spooky comedy ghost hunter thing where, it's a lot of work. So it takes a whole process to do it. So that's the way that I figured out to like organize that, right? To organize those thoughts. When I'm doing like a show, like I use note cards, man. I learned that a long time ago. I'll get like 3x5 note cards and I'm like, here's this piece, here's this piece, and each one gets its own note card. Stick them on the wall, stick them on the, sticky board, whatever it is. And I'm like this, all right, so if this goes into this, like, oh, nope, that doesn't work. And instead of just throwing it out, I've got it still there. And I'm like, all right, we'll use that for a different thing or a different show. How does this fit? And so it's kind of like getting those pieces together, because it gives me a visual and it allows me the ability to kind of manipulate the situation, right?
Okay.
So rather than writing the set list and scratching it out and going back over and over again, I'm like, all right, here's the bits that I know I'm going to do. Here are all the things that I want to do as part of this show. All right, this doesn't fit. Okay, we take it out. What does fit? Great. And so then I'm not like tearing stuff up, because I get really down on myself if I have to like destroy lists or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's all wrong.
I love destroying things.
So to get out of, well, especially if I feel like I did it wrong, right? Which is the feeling that I get if I like make a list of like, I'm going to do this, then this, then this, then this. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work. Like really is kind of a negative mental headspace for me. So instead it's like, oh no, nothing's getting destroyed. It's just getting reorganized.
Yeah.
And this isn't even going away. It's just sitting over here for another day or another show or whatever else. Like I've still got literally I've got a stack of them. All the tricks that I'd be willing to perform on stage. Like
That's pretty cool.
I've got a stack of that I go through and I'm like, oh, these pieces fit together. And I've got them kind of organized too, where I'm like, oh, these things go together really well. Let's put those together. So it just becomes like another aspect of organizing. But yeah, the written list stuff, man, Post-it notes, like that's the one thing I do love is if I've got some little thing I got to do, like selling my house, my old house in the hill country now. And so it's like, all right, I need to check in with the realtor about this and this. And then it's like, as soon as it's done, I like crumple up the Post-it and throw it away. I love that feeling. It's like, it's off my list. But for bigger stuff, I'm always like, okay, this, then this, then this. And like our house now, I've got like a whole kind of to-do list that I go through and I'm like, all right, this needs done, this needs done, this needs done. Going through and just scratching it off the list. My partner like wrote it in red on there and there's something even better about taking that red pen and being like, done.
I did have a question on here and it didn't even hit me till now that it was what you had mentioned of like asking people, like, what are you passionate about right now?
Yeah.
I had wrote down a question, what's bringing you joy right now?
Finding and creating a space that feels safe to be yourself and comfortable to be yourself, right? I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's some bits and pieces around that. Like I'm very cognizant around my daughter has, a higher level of autism than I have. And her functioning is not like, it's not as high functioning. And so I'm very aware of some of my characteristics and some of my behaviors and some of my like tics and things like that I do out of like comfort, right? To not do those, I purposefully overthink and try not to do those around her because I don't want her having her stuff and then adding my stuff in there that I'm modeling as well at the same time. So there's some stuff around that when I'm like not feeling my best where I'm like, all right, like I've still got to be aware and I've still got to, and it's another form of masking, but I still got to like kind of mask around her so I don't give her my stuff on top of the stuff that she's already having to cope with.
Yeah.
And it's funny because stuff like that. Took the girls to the movies last night and I ate way too much popcorn and was kind of miserable. Last night and this morning,
Do you eat a lot of popcorn?
I do not overeat in general. I just don't. Like I'm not as hungry. Like I do a lot of smoothies. I do a lot of like coffee and water. And normally we eat like a pretty healthy dinner. And I'm like, okay. But man, something about in the movies with popcorn that it is so mindless and so. It's like an alien has overtaken my body and I will just continue eating popcorn until I am miserably sick and then go refill the popcorn again.
I'm only laughing because I'm the exact same way. I do eat quite a bit. Like, I guess for my body, I do eat more, but like not a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
But I also know when to stop eating.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But with popcorn, only at the movies though. You give me a tub of popcorn, I will eat the entire thing by myself, and afterwards, same thing. Be like, oh, why did I do that? But it was so good.
We were 3/4 away through the movie, and I'm literally sitting in that theater like, why did I do this to myself? But yeah, I'm the same. Yeah. If I'm at home and there's like a full bag of popcorn, I'm like, a couple of them, I'm like, all right, I'm done, whatever. Something about, I don't know what it is.
Anyway, sorry.
No. So like this morning, my partner was asked, she's like, oh, how are you feeling? I was like, I'm still a little, like, I just really overdid on the popcorn yesterday and I'm not feeling great. And then, my daughter goes to school in Kerrville, so we're driving like the hour out there this morning to go back to school early this morning. And she's like, man, I really overdid it on popcorn yesterday. I'm like, no, you didn't. I got you your own little popcorn. You ate like 4 handfuls, spilled 3/4 of it on the floor. Like, no, you didn't. But I see that stuff happen because he has a lot of like the repetitive questions and a lot of that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I got to be more careful. Like, it's one of those moments where stuff like that where I just have to be really aware of my tone, my communication, my whatever in those moments. Because again, I don't want her to have like, my stuff on top of her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is true of any parent, but especially when you're looking at that stuff. And, I look back on the stuff that I've internalized from like my childhood into now. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was not helpful. And I don't want to kind of do the same thing. Right.
Yeah. One thing I do with he now knows, but I still kind of get in a habit of making sure I do say it to just reinforce it is like if I'm trying to prove a point or like get something across or whatever, I talk very loud, like almost in an angry tone. Didn't realize this until it's been pointed out to me. And so there are times when I have to tell like right before I'm about to speak, or even like after, if I in the moment realize I have to go, I promise I'm not angry. I need you to know
it's an important point.
It's just how I talk. And he also knows like I don't like last minute plans and all that, and he knows that. But there are times like when things happen and I know he feels bad about it because like maybe something last minute happened at school or something changed. It's out of his control. It's totally fine. But he'll still like kind of be like, I'm so sorry. Like I know you don't like. I'm like, it's fine. Like honestly, like that's fine. But you and your friends trying to plan a last minute hangout, an hour before, like y'all could have,
Oh, it is. It's like the hierarchy of importance stuff, right? Like, I hate having to go to like even people that are like friends of mine, like go to like kids' birthday parties with a lot of other strangers, or honestly, even people that I've known for a while. If there's a just large group of people, I'm like, this is not my environment. Like, it's not my thing. And used to get warned a lot, like, don't be antisocial. And I'm like, I can't help it. I just end up like hanging out, watching my kid play instead of like hanging out, talking with the parents about whatever BS. And, having a kiddo who's special needs, like I'm also hypersensitive. So there's been parents who've like said stuff or done stuff that definitely like, I'm not an angry person at all, but my red flag trigger is bullying. Always has been, always will be. It is the one thing I cannot control. Like it's the only time that I'm like, watch me lose my mind. Like that, or if my family's safety happened on the way to the movies. Some dude like pulled out and cut us off and almost hit us. And I said a lot of choice words in front of the kids. And Lily's like, Barrett. And I'm like, sorry. I was like, if it's just me in the car, I don't care, right? Like, it's not how I am. But for some reason, that like protectiveness over like my family, I'm like, no, sir. But yeah, like it's such like a weird thing that I'm like, all right, this is something that she needs, and these are her friends, and this is whatever. And like, I think it's what any parent does. Like, you're like, all right, this is gonna go suck for a little while, but it's gonna make my kid happy. So all right, let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For you, what do you feel like? Because I know it's your interview and everything else, but I'm just curious. Like, what do you feel like are the aspects of your neurodiversity that like get in the way for you? Like I talked about a bunch of mine. Like, what do you feel like are some of the things that get in the way for you?
Overthinking. Like I've got good overthinking and bad overthinking. Like bad overthinking is just your typical like negative thoughts,
The what if demon, as I like to call it, where it's like, what if this, what if this, what if this? Is it the worrying thing?
Yeah, like I'm someone, I need a plan A and a plan B, sometimes a plan C as well. And so like, I mean, this story I shared about date night, like I could have chosen anything, but I also like, I get very paralyzed with lots of choices. What was the question again? I also forget things quite a bit.
But what do you feel like is this aspects of their neurodiversity that like
gets in the way, right?
Gets in the way of this stuff.
Like my brain is always running a mile. I'm like, it's just always going. And so there are times when I kind of space out during conversations. There's been times where like I need to be listening to this because they are giving me very important instructions on things to be doing, and in my head I'm like, don't forget what he's saying. Oh crap! What did he say?
Now I'm focused on not forgetting what they're saying, and I'm not listening.
This is also why I don't read books, because my brain does that, where I'll be reading and then it'll go off to somewhere else, and then in my head I'm like, oh, now you got to read the whole page over again. And it's just like a constant loop. People pleasing, I still do that.
Do you feel like that interferes with stuff though?
Yeah, like I'm not present.
Okay.
You know, and I was actually talking with my therapist about this a couple of weeks ago, because I just started working here maybe like 2 months ago. So she was kind of like checking in on like how it's been going, because I was essentially like jobless for many months. And so it was a big deal. Like I'm still working on the side doing photography, but
that's what I said. I was like, pause. I don't think you were like you were doing a photography.
Well, yeah, but like, but photography is just like, it's just taking a big dip.
And it's not like a solid 9 to 5, right?
Not like it used to be. Yeah. So I needed to find something to kind of replace it. So anyway, getting the job was a big deal, and it was actually something I would enjoy. Like I knew that, because I did find jobs but like one of them was like, would you be okay doing sales, just in a cubicle, you know, working nights? I'm like, no, none of that. No.
I'm like, put me in IT or customer service, like, okay, but sales is never, I don't know any of us that are like the salespeople.
No, I'm not. Like,
as soon as someone like gives a valid reason why they don't want to, I'm like, okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, hey,
cool.
do you want to buy this thing? Like, no, I don't need that thing. I'm like, okay, cool, bye. And they're like, no, you gotta push. And I'm like, no. They said no, man.
Yeah, they don't need it. Like, have some respect for them. But one of the things was, I was like, I'm trying to get a grasp, because I'm learning all these new things. Like I'm having to learn about the lights. I'm having to learn about the cameras, the mics. Like they're all things that I know generally.
Right.
But now I'm mixing them all into one thing. And there's the same, like a format that we kind of run by. And there's all the settings. And there's all these
Legos
like technical kind of things that I need to make sure that I'm doing. Yet at the same time, I need to be a host, you know, like I'm meeting new people. Mm-hmm. I need to get to know them. I need to be friendly. Now I got to find like common things to talk about, you know, like, I've got to find something to latch on so that they like me, you know, I'm the new guy here. And so that was one of the things where, and I'm going to be honest, I don't remember what she told me. But whatever she said helped in that moment, my therapist. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, people pleasing is still like a thing for me that gets in my way. But for the most part, like I try to find ways to either balance or like just go with it, and just instead of going against it, just like let's just make life easier. Like screw it. Like who cares what people think? We the other day we had a new person come in here, and they were very talkative, and I got so bored, and I just spaced out. And like that day, it was just like it was a meeting. I felt like, okay, I'm just coming in to meet the new person. I don't need to bring a fidget or anything. And I immediately regretted it when I was talking with them. So I'm just like there, just like, my thing is like, if I don't got anything to do, I just swing my arms. That is my relaxing thing.
I've got a few of those.
Yeah. And so I was just doing that the whole time. I'm like, you know, I don't even care that I look ridiculous right now.
I mean, I think that's a piece too that like people don't get is the fact that like processing into general small talk that does not feel productive or important is like so difficult. Like there are times when people are like, you were a jerk. And I was like, I wasn't a jerk. Like I just told them not into that, not interested. And they're like, oh, it's so rude. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit and pretend that I'm really interested in like something that I'm not interested in, because then that's disingenuous and like, you know, all the pieces that go along with that, and it all makes sense. But it does. I mean, I have a lot of difficulty with concentration with any of that stuff that does not feel like it is useful, productive, or creating a genuine connection, right?
Yeah.
Like if someone's talking to me about like their hobby that they're passionate about and they're passionate about it,
yeah.
I have no problem being present, right? Like their passion and their interest like triggers my empathy, and I'm like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Like,
it gets you excited for them.
I don't even care if it's something that might be generically boring to me, where I'm like, oh, it's like, oh, I collect different kinds of grains of sand. And I'm like, in general, I'd be like, but if they're passionate about it, I'm like, oh, and they start talking about like, for some reason, no problem connecting with that. Right. But then someone's like, oh, and this thing and blah, blah, and my granddaughter's going to this camp in this school and blah, blah, blah. And like, oh, we just bought it, like braggadocious stuff for some reason. As soon as someone starts like bragging or humble bragging about something, it's like immediately my brain's like, we out. Like immediately.
Yeah.
Like name dropping, humble bragging, any of that stuff. I'm just like, my brain's like, nope, we have nothing for this person. It's almost like my brain's like the alien of like, this is not our people. Nope.
I get like that with photographers because I'm not a gear person. Yeah. Like I'm all about like, if I see a great photo, like that's all I care about. I don't, like maybe how they took it, but I don't care about the gear, like, or any of that. And you'll come across some of these people. Like I went to a show a few months ago. I think it was, a month ago. I don't know. Anyway, that doesn't matter. And there was a guy there. There was actually a lot of photographers there. I immediately was like already annoyed, but there was someone there that they had like a wireless flash that they were using, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I kind of want something like that, and maybe I could use that at weddings or whatever. And so I made the mistake of going to talk to him because when I was photographing a band, and the main spot that I was at, he was just sitting there, and he started the conversation, I think, because he asked me what I was shooting, and I was like, oh, it's this camera, and then I said, oh, by the way, like I saw that flash you, like what is that? Because I was just interested, and so he starts talking about it, and then he starts talking about all like certain types of gear and like all, like the numbers, the brands, the like almost serial numbers, it felt like. And immediately like, I'm checked out. But I love photography, but it's just like those little things. It's like, I don't care. Like,
I think that's a lot of people, right? Based on like, I think about my dad who like in retirement has spent like all this time like cultivating plants that get butterflies.
okay.
So the butterflies are there, and I'm like, oh, it's so cool. And there's, several times a year you go to their house and there's just, walking through hundreds of butterflies to get to their front door. And you're like, this is amazing. But then you're like, hey, what kind of butterfly is that? And he's like, a blue one? Like, he doesn't care about the actual butterflies. It's like the outcome that he wants, right? Which is what I think of when you say that. It's like, no, I want this picture that looks cool that I see in my mind. Like, I don't care about like the minutia of like, knowing every bit and piece. It's like, no, I don't need to know the genus and species of like every one of these butterflies or even their name. I just know that I want butterflies that I can look at. Like, that's it. And I'm like, yeah, no,
Valid.
I think a lot of people are like, I'd be like, oh, I don't care how I get there. Like, as long as like, the outcome is the same. Like, it's one of my favorite like words that like is super helpful is like equifinality, right? Where it means the end is the same. Like, it doesn't matter how I make it or what I do. I always think, like, when I used to talk to patients about it, I'm like, it's like peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? Where it's like, oh no, you put the peanut butter on first. No, you use the jelly first. And you got to do it like this. And like, in the end, if you made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, no matter how you did it, like the result's the same. So you're successful. So I think about that a lot with that stuff where I'm like, if the end result's the same, it doesn't really matter. Like, whether the bits and pieces in my mind are all exactly the way I think they should be when I start with the project, right? Whatever that project is. Literally whatever that project, whether it's my kids or whether it's a work thing or whether it's magic or what, like, it does not matter as long as the end result gets the same. And I do like that overthinking of like the aspects and minutia and that uncomfortability when something goes off plan is something it took me a long time to get like okay with, because I'm like, off plan does not mean it's going to be unsuccessful.
Yeah.
Which is what my brain used to tell me constantly was like, all right, if this doesn't follow this, doesn't follow this, doesn't follow this, doesn't follow this, like, it's going to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then I figured out, like, God, I don't have to worry about, like, yeah, there's like 3 steps I got to worry about, but I don't have to worry about like every aspect of the stuff that goes in between that. As I talked about, like the what if monster, that's what my brain used to, well, but what if this happens? But what if this happens? What if this happens? And then I'd have to like logically look at like statistically, like what is the chance that's actually going to happen? Mm-hmm. Do I really need to plan for that and waste that time and energy? Which was a lot of it was I was just mentally tired all the time because I was trying to manage every tiny aspect of like every interaction with another person, every aspect of like everything I was doing, right? Like, going to the grocery store had 50 moving pieces. When like I'm in my brain, I'm like, okay, so do I really need to, what if they're out of bread? Like the whole store's out of bread? Like, that has not really ever happened.
Yeah.
Like maybe COVID, but like that's an outlier, right? Like in the thousands of times that I've gone grocery shopping, maybe once it's happened. Do I really need to plan for that? And even if it does happen, is planning actually going to be advantageous to me or not? Mm-hmm. And most of the time, no. I've just worried myself, and now I've got 50 million worries that I didn't need that I'm like, even if that's the case, like I got to figure it out on the spot. It's not going to end anything. So doing that like so much with like every aspect that I just, as soon as those what ifs came into my head and like those worries, I would just be like, worst case scenario, like let's say it does happen. Like, am I going to be okay? Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to have plenty of other things to eat besides bread, right? Like it's going to be, I'm like, all right, then we're not going to worry about it. And just practicing that so much got me to the point where I went from like trying to manage these tiny little pieces and aspects of everything to instead like big picture and looking at it. Everyone's like, you're so chill with all this stuff. I'm like, kinda. Like I'm like, it's not my default setting, right? My default setting is to worry about every single piece, but through like lots of practice, I've just learned to kind of turn that all the way down to where it doesn't happen unless I'm having like a rough time and there's already a bunch of other things that are going wrong. And then all of a sudden it like snowballs and I got to like really actively do it. But in day to day, it's like, you're like, God, my brain never stops working. I'm like, practicing it, it's like my brain just kind of goes to everything all the time. It's like, what did my friend call it? Nihilistic optimism, where I'm like, if the worst happens,
I don't have that.
I'm like, if a nuclear war comes and takes us all, not going to care. I'm not going to be here to worry about it, right? It's like that optimistic nihilism where I'm like, well, so I'm not going to worry about it. All right, take that off my plate. Like optimistic nihilism where I'm like, none of this matters. Like, you know, like nihilism be like, nothing matters. And I'm like, nothing matters. Like, none of it's that big of a deal. Like, it's fine. And it like really has changed my aspect, like my internal aspect to being like, oh, this and this and this and this and this, to just being like, don't care. Like, and it's not that I don't care. That's not true. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's not a big enough deal for me to put time and energy and like resources into. Yeah. And it saved me like a lot of energy that I then can put into the things that I do care about and do love and are like important, because now I'm not too exhausted to be like, well, I really want to come up with like a new bit for that, you know, for that section of the magic trip, but I'm not, you know, a new way to do this because that one's not working, but I'm just too tired. I'm just going to sit here and veg out and watch, you know, 90 Day Fiance or what. I don't like, I can't do reality TV. It's too much. As a therapist, it was too much like being at work. I'm like, oh, I got to listen to people upset all day. And then now I'm watching people upset and arguing on TV. Like, no, I did to go more for like fantasy, like, you know, the horror stuff or like, you know, dumb comedies or whatever. I'm like, I want something that has no relation to anything.
As you're talking, I'm realizing that I don't like my what ifs are related to other people, which goes back to the people pleasing.
Right.
And a lot of it is like things I need to get for my wife. Like if my wife is like, can you go to the grocery store and get this? Then I'm like, okay, well, what's the brand name? Can I get a picture? You know, like I need to know all the things because I don't want to get the wrong thing. And then if I get there and they don't have that thing, then I'm like, I don't know what is the next correct thing to get because I don't want to upset her. I don't, you know, like I'm spending the time here. I'm getting like spending the money, like, and so my brain goes into all of that.
We do so much of that online anymore just because I don't.
Yeah, I try to do that too.
Last week I went to HEB to pick up a handful of stuff that we needed. I think I called my partner 7 times in the 25 minutes I was at HEB just because I didn't, do you know what I mean? Like I didn't know, like normally it's like we either go together or we do it online. It's like, oh, you want this one or this one? It's like this one. And now she's gotten really good about like getting on like the HEB app or whatever and just like screenshotting like this one. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Now I know. Great. We can go. I can do this.
Yeah.
Because it is the same way. But a lot of times, I mean,
the grocery app that I use for like keeping groceries, it has, it's called AnyList. And I'm trying to think if, what would be in here, but like,
oh, see, we're HEB purists, so we just use the my HEB
integrated
list
with
all the time.
HEB too. So like, if I create a list, I can go up to the top and like order or delivery, and it goes to HEB.
Oh, nice.
So, but whether or not like we're going to shop in store or online. There is a feature, I don't have anything in here right now, but it has the picture. So
of the thing.
Yeah, so like right here, like the coffee,
nice.
I know what coffee my wife likes, and I can just go look at the picture.
Oh, 100%. I have that down. My partner drinks tons of coffee and Cuban coffee that I learned how to make and all this other stuff that I'm like, so I know exactly like these are the ones she likes.
My memory don't work that well, so I even have a list that I keep. It's like every now and then if I'm going to the store, she's like, "Oh, bring me a surprise." So I have a list of things that she would like as a surprise. Yeah.
No, that's smart too.
So
I do that when my partner like mentions like, I really like that thing. I'm like, I'll like open up my notes app and be like, like I literally have a list of all these things that she's mentioned. Like, oh, I love this thing. I'm like, nope, it goes in there.
Goes in there.
I'm not gonna forget. And then she's like, oh, I can't believe you remembered. And I'm like, technically the app remembered for me, but I did take the effort to put it in there and then go back and look it up because I was like, oh,
yeah,
I want to get her something that I know she'll like. Like I think that's another aspect, right? Is the risk of doing something like totally random and then having it fail. Like, oh, let me get her something that, and then it's like, oh, thanks. And it's like not a big deal and not really something you can tell something that they aren't super excited about. And you're like, oh yeah,
I like to
don't
go
like
over the
that.
top.
Don't like that failure.
Yeah. Forgot where I was going with. I don't think I was going anywhere with that, but
This isn't sponsored by HEB. We're just talking about it a lot. I'm just saying that.
if HEB you do want to sponsor us, let me know.
Please. I'm tired of paying for my favorite, which is what I was going to say. Like I pay for the monthly like gold membership to Favor for that reason, because I forget stuff when I grocery shop all the time. So then I can get it to the house in like 30 minutes. Like you can get, I think, 15 items. Plus they send you, like you pay $10 a month, but they give you a $10 off $50 at HEB every month. So it pays for itself.
Interesting. Okay.
So, but it saves my butt a lot because I'll forget things. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot that. And then it's like, there's always something that we need that it's like, oh, we're out of frozen chicken. So I'm like, oh, let me add that into the list for the favorite thing. So that really does save my behind a lot with like the memory stuff and like the not sticking to it. So I did have another question. See, now we got the same thing and it's getting late. We're like,
I know we should probably wrap up soon. So
I love asking this question to people I find out who are like our tribe, right? What do you think the biggest benefit that you get from your neurodiversity is?
I'm crazy organized, and I've got a one up on most people. I feel like I go over the top, and I do it. This is one of those things where, like, in hindsight, like, it's like, oh, well, that's why. The only reason I found out I was ADHD was because, like, I started my photo business like 13 years ago, but I quickly realized that there's a lot that goes into it. And so I had to like come up with systems. So many years down the road, I realized that creating a bunch of different calendars and color coding them and like doing all this like crazy stuff really helped me. And I was listening to some podcast and some guy was talking about his calendar system and how it helps with, his ADHD, and everything he described was exactly what I do. And I was like, is that weird? Do people not do that? And then I went down a rabbit hole, as you do with ADHD and whatever. And so I spent like months like just researching, and I was like, oh yeah, this makes total sense. But a lot of my organization is mainly because if not, like, I'm just going to be a complete mess. So I think that is one of the things, just like I'm crazy organized. Like everything goes in my calendar. Addresses go in there because even if it's a place that I go to all the time, that address is going to be in there because maybe I'm somewhere else and I don't know how to get there. I can just easily click the little button in the car.
Dude, I can map like everywhere, like map to my house. Like I'm like, oh, I can get there right now. But yeah, I prefer to have the map and like maybe there's an accident, maybe there's whatever. And like
it's also keep me like not distracted because quickly. Yeah.
I'm the same way. Even my disorganization is organized. It's like, I know that pile is these specific things, right? But I'm the same way. Like when I organize my things, like I've got such a weird system. I was just thinking about, I've got a old curio cabinet that I keep a bunch of my like magic stuff in that I'm not using for shows or in between shows or whatever. And I organized it with those like drawer organizers.
Okay.
You know, talking about the little zip up like fabric ones, the little squares and rectangles that you, like people put their socks and stuff in. No, I've got like them separated out, and I've got one that's like, oh, this is funny stuff for magic. It's like little gags, and like this is all my spooky stuff that's spooky. And here's the stuff that I use regularly for, 90% of my shows. I use these things, so they stay here. And like, I've got like the drawer underneath that's like, all right, here's stuff that I know I like that's like useful in some situations, but not all the time. I've got one that's like, oh, this is just for if we're doing like close up with just a handful of people. And so there's like a method to each of those boxes and organization. Anybody else went in there, it would look like just absolute chaos thrown into boxes. Like they're like, oh, I see a bunch of like cards here and a bunch of cards there. And I'm like, no, but this is specifically this stuff. And this is this stuff. That in my mind, it makes it so easy because I just pull open the drawer. I'm like, yep, that's that box. Like, there's the things. I know that what I'm looking for is in that small area, right?
Makes total sense.
But there's a lot of us. Like, I think about that a lot. Like, I've known so many people who have like their own like complete organizational system that makes like no sense to anyone else. And it's like, doesn't matter. Like, it's wired to my brain. This is like the connection is to what's happening up here. So it's like, oh, that thing.
One of my therapists, I was describing to him my to-do list, like how I set it up and like what everything means. And afterwards, he just goes, that sounds very, like that stressed me out. Like that's overwhelming. He goes, but good for you.
But again, if the external like clears up some of that headspace, that is super valuable to us, right?
Yeah. So what's your, is your what's your like, how did you phrase the question to me?
Oh, benefit? What I feel like the benefit of it is?
Like what is yours, you feel?
And it goes back to like, for me, it's like really is a benefit because of like magic and my career and everything else. Like, I think that it has given me so much insight to the way other people's brains work. Like it used to be like exhausting and detrimental to try to figure out like, what do they mean by that? What's this thing? What's this? And again, like the social cues aspect is always something that I'm, is a very big gray area for me, right? Like, I'm fortunate to have some friends who are like, hey, sorry, we're in the middle of a private conversation. I'm sorry. And I'm like, oh, cool. And not be a jerk about it. And I'm immediately like, thank you for letting me know because I just don't. Like, you know what I mean? And everyone's like, I was afraid I was going to hurt your feelings. I'm like, no, thank you. Like, direct communication works very well for me. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, with my part, like, I'm not mad or annoyed with you. Like, okay. I'm like, okay, believe it. All right, great. Which also, historically has allowed me to be manipulated because I just assume that what people are saying is what they're meaning. And it, not always true.
No.
But no, like the insight into like understanding like the average person and their motives and the way their brain works and like their processes, because my process is so different. It's like learning a foreign language, right?
Yeah.
It's like learning a foreign language that's like written in different letters almost to me. And it's like, oh, I've gotten enough of the language to be able to like get the gist and be able to like use that, right? Like, like a long time ago, I learned through my therapist and other people just being like, yeah, like, like selfish and self-centered is most people's default setting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was life-changing for me from being like frustrated about like, these people just don't care and they're just blah, 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 and they're just selfish and they're blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we're in a unique position where we have constantly, in order to maintain interaction, had to analyze this stuff from other people over and over again, right? Mm-hmm. That the average person doesn't have to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So they don't have to be as aware. Like they're perfectly happy to.
That makes a lot of sense.
They're perfectly happy to like leave their car like blocking a parking space because they're not thinking about it. It's not that they're like, let me screw over the next person. Like it never even crosses their mind. They're just like, I'm in a rush, I'm leaving. And I'm like, I can't do that, right? Like I'm immediately like, oh, we can't leave that. Someone's got to park here. Like, and the average person doesn't worry about that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's a distinct advantage because one, I think it gives me more internal empathy than the average person has because I'm consistently thinking of how things affect other people.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it may not
Cross their mind, maybe.
Well, no, I'm saying even though it may not emotionally show up as like being as empathetic, I think internally, like I'm much more understanding of like what's going on with people than the average person because I've spent literally decades getting into other people's heads to figure out why they're doing what they're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it helps me like I feel sadder for people. I feel like internally, I feel like the filter from there to like here, like expression, whether that's verbal or facial or whatever, doesn't always come across. But I think internally, I feel it in a different way.
I like this question, even though like I think I mentioned it earlier, but I think I want to end with that. What's bringing you joy right now?
What is bringing me, man, a lot of stuff. One, like getting our house like done and decorated and all the things that we like want it to look like to like kind of bring that vibe of how we want it to feel like that, those bits and pieces, like, and it's coming. It's happening quickly, but it feels slowly. Like we got the whole living room done now and decorated and everything hung the way we want it and all that stuff. And just walking in there, I'm like, like it just feels like, you know, that sense of like peace and comfort of like, okay, like this is really nice. Now we've got multiple other areas that needs to be done too. I'm like, oh, now we got to do my office and then the kitchen and dining room. And I'm like, and then the downstairs bathroom. And like, all right, there's more steps to come. But having that like aspect, like always brings me joy. Working on, I spent months working on this magic show, like my solo magic show, and then doing the first one and have it 75% go the way I wanted, like that extra 25%, looking at that and kind of reworking that stuff and changing some things up, like that creative process of doing that and being like, all right, that didn't work because it just kind of doesn't work. Like, let's transition and put something else there. Like that stuff always makes me really happy to like, I tell people like, I love the process of creating the magic more than I like the process of even performing the magic. Like that creative process behind it of like going through that work in my head and being like, oh, this doesn't work. What if this? Okay, that's a little better. And like, again, like I don't know if it's true of like other creatives or not, but like the process of like creating it is always way more happy for me and enjoyable for me than, not that the performance isn't, but then the ultimate performance. I'm like, you know, when that finishes every show, I'm just kind of like, whew, okay, that's over, right?
Yeah.
But the creative process leading up to that is just like, ooh, you know, and that's the thing I like is I normally will write a show and do that same show for like a year. Like just different people show up and I'm like, you know, and it's different somewhat each time, but like tweaking and getting all the aspects right for like each show. Like, okay, let's tweak this for the next show. Okay, let's tweak this for the next. And like that whole process of kind of like fine tuning everything is the part that I like. So it's the in between work, not necessarily the performance work. The performance is pretty stressful always. And I am a ball of nerves and a giant stress ball with the family and everything else. Like every time it's performance day, everybody's just kind of like, we leave daddy alone today. Like, you know what I mean? We just kind of let him do his thing. And I do. I turn it. There's time. I'm like, I can't find this thing. I can't do this. Like, it's very, yeah, it gets very like, I'm sure like they're just like, who's this maniac that's overtaking our house that's normally really calm here, right? So that process is not as enjoyable for me as like the after process and like the analyzing, the fine tuning. Once I get over the hump of like, I'm terrible, why do I even do this? Like, yeah, because I tend to like swing that pendulum way too far to that side of just like, maybe I should just quit. Like, and I'm like, it was, 75, 80% good. Like, there's 20% that needs a little fixing up. Like, okay, like not the end of the world. Yeah. Once I get past that, like day after kind of like, oh, that was horrible. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Like, it was just what it was. I think that's part of it, is that empathy of like worrying that people aren't getting their value for their money and not going to be entertained, and like that being the main motive versus like, well, I did my thing. Like, I deserve your money. I'm like, oh, I hope people feel like it was a good value for what they got. And I hope that like, like all those pieces that are more empathetic in my head than just like, I showed them magic. I did what I said I was going to do. I'm like, Wish it was that simple.
Well, we got value out of your show, so.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I think we talked for like maybe close to 2 hours.
Yeah, I hope you can cut this into something coherent from me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Is there any place that you want people to like find you online? Anything you want to like end with? This is going on YouTube.
Oh yeah, no. V Graves Magic at Instagram. I always post where I'm going to be, what shows I'm going to be doing. I'll be doing. I don't know when this will come out, but I've got a few the month of September, and I'm sure I'll have some for month of October. Or if you want to reach out to me and be like, hey, we want to give you money to come do magic for us, I'd be thrilled to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, V Graves Magic on Instagram, Everett Lamb Comedy on Instagram are probably the two best ways to get a hold of me. I've got TikTok too, and then website at gravesmagic.com. But yeah, besides that, I'm like,
cool. I'll put all the links in the description.
No, man, that's fine. I'm like, I'm terrible at the social media thing in general. So besides like, here, I'm going to post a poster where I'm going to be, and like then reminders, and then send constantly like, don't forget tonight, tomorrow, and like each day I'm like it's tonight. So yeah. No, I'm not. That is one of those aspects that actually is on my list of like, there's things we need to get better at. So
I will say that I have in the past gone down rabbit holes watching like reels or whatever they're called of like people doing magic, in the videos. I could get lost doing that.
Oh no,
maybe you should do that. I don't know.
I know that's my next push. Is I've been on TikTok a while, and I've had a couple
algorithm. Show me more.
For real. And I've had some like historically just some like funny stuff that I said or whatever on TikTok go like, I don't know, semi-viral or whatever. And so I'm like, oh, like I know that, stuff likes me. So that's part of the next plan with like getting the house settled down, is to start doing some more like TikTok stuff and showing off some of like the haunted stuff that I collect and house stuff and all that stuff. Eventually, once the walls are not like that new build orange khaki color they love painting stuff, that I'm like, oh, I don't even want to do it now. It looks like baby vomit all over behind me. We'll wait until we get these walls painted to do that. So, but yeah, no, I mean, that's my next drive, is to get a little better at like that aspect, because I do like, it doesn't bother me making like little like 1 minute magic videos or show off stuff videos of like, hey, here's the weird crap I have. Like, doesn't feel like a bad investment of my time.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this with me.
Absolutely.
It was longer than I expected, but I hope people get something out of it.
Heck yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the other people that you interview and see how their brains work. Like,
yeah,
that's the cool part, is like getting to see like the similarities and differences. And I mean, again, like, man, it's very comforting to have these conversations with other people whose brains work similarly, to be like, I'm not the like weirdo on an island by myself. Like, yes, I need that stuff too. Yes, this stuff works for me. Like it does. It makes me feel so much like it's a very peaceful feeling to be like, okay, there's others like me. It's not just me. Like, yeah.
This is why I wanted to
like
do
that.
something like this, was because I grew up feeling like I'm the oddball, like the black sheep, whatever. Like no one understands me.
Right.
Like
100%.
I was
feel
always saying that. And come to find out, like there are other people like me. I was totally wrong.
Dude.
And
that was my mantra was like, why is it so easy for everybody else?
yeah.
Like, why is all this stuff so easy for everyone else and so
I'm
hard for me?
stupid. Like
It's like that, it's like that never going out of like that teenage thing that everybody has. Like, why is it so easy for when it's hard for everyone at that age. And it's like, I just never stopped feeling that way.
Yeah.
So having conversations like this, like really does like, it's like comfort. It's like comforting to be like, oh my gosh, okay.
Someone understands me.
I know.
Yeah, so I hope these. I'm glad I got this out of the way. I was very nervous about doing this. Like going back to I need to always have a plan. Like I was trying to plan as much as I could, and it turns out I didn't use any of that plan. But I do appreciate you like being the first, and I'm glad it was in person.
Thank you for asking me, and it's a pleasure. And for real, I'm very excited to like see what else happens. I'm like, heck yeah, and I feel like we could talk another 2 hours. So
yeah, we probably shouldn't.
Probably shouldn't.
My wife's probably
I know.
texting
I
me.
was like, the kids are like, hey, what are they? I'm pretty sure they've already ordered dinner at this point. So I'm like, oh, I don't know what's happening.
All right.
Bless our families for like not harassing us this whole time. I haven't gotten one message, no nothing of like, where are you? Like,
my wife actually did just now.
just now.
Me.
Yeah, I mean, it's been hours since we. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for watching.